Imagine waking up one day and realizing that someone has been quietly controlling your decisions for months, or even years, without you ever noticing. They never forced you. They never threatened you. Instead, they planted small doubts, twisted your confidence, and made you question your own judgment until their voice became louder than your own. The frightening truth is that manipulation rarely looks dramatic. It often hides behind kindness, charm, concern, or even love. Manipulative people don't usually announce themselves. They adapt, observe, and patiently learn exactly how to influence those around them. By the end of this video, you'll recognize the hidden behaviors manipulative people use, understand why they work so well, and learn how to protect yourself before it's too late. The first thing to understand is that manipulation is not simply lying or persuading someone. Healthy persuasion respects your freedom to choose. Manipulation secretly removes that freedom without you realizing it. A manipulative person doesn't want you to make your own decision. They want you to believe that their decision was yours all along. That's why manipulation can be incredibly difficult to recognize while it's happening. Instead of direct control, manipulators create emotional pressure. They make you feel guilty, obligated, afraid, or responsible for their happiness. Over time, your decisions begin serving their interests instead of your own. One of the strongest signs of a manipulative person is that they study people carefully. While most people listen to understand, manipulators often listen to collect information. They notice your insecurities, your fears, your dreams, and your emotional triggers. At first, this attention can feel flattering. You may believe you've found someone who truly understands you, but eventually, those same personal details become tools. Your fears are used to discourage you. Your hopes are used to motivate you in ways that benefit them. Your weaknesses become invisible strings they quietly pull whenever they need something. Another common characteristic is excessive charm. Many manipulators are incredibly likable when you first meet them. They know exactly how to make people feel important. They compliment generously, agree with your opinions, laugh at your jokes, and seem surprisingly interested in your life. This isn't always fake. Many manipulative people are naturally charismatic, but charm becomes dangerous when it exists mainly to build influence. Once trust has been established, the manipulation begins so gradually that you hardly notice the shift. One of the most powerful manipulation techniques is guilt. Rather than asking directly for what they want, manipulators make you feel like saying no would make you selfish or uncaring. They might remind you of everything they've done for you or imply that refusing them proves you don't value the relationship. Instead of respecting your boundaries, they transform your kindness into a weapon against you. Eventually, you begin saying yes, simply to avoid feeling guilty, even when you know it isn't in your best interest. Perhaps the most confusing tactic is gaslighting. This happens when someone repeatedly causes you to question your own memory, perception, or reality. Imagine confronting someone about something hurtful they clearly said, only to hear, "I never said that," or "You're imagining things," or "You're too sensitive." At first, you trust your own memory, but after hearing these responses over and over again, doubt begins to grow. Eventually, you stop trusting yourself and start relying on them to define reality. That dependence gives manipulators enormous psychological power. Manipulative people also create emotional instability. Healthy relationships feel relatively predictable. Manipulative relationships often feel like emotional roller coasters. One day you're praised and appreciated. The next day you're ignored, criticized, or treated coldly for reasons you don't understand. This inconsistency isn't always accidental. Unpredictable rewards keep people emotionally invested because they continue hoping the warmth will return. Psychologists sometimes compare this to gambling. The uncertainty itself becomes addictive. Another warning sign is how manipulators react when you establish boundaries. Emotionally healthy people may feel disappointed when you say no, but they generally respect your decision. Manipulative people often react very differently. They may become angry, play the victim, give you the silent treatment, spread rumors, or suddenly accuse you of being selfish. Why? Because boundaries reduce their influence. Your ability to say no threatens the control they've worked so hard to build. Projection is another subtle but revealing behavior. Manipulators frequently accuse others of doing exactly what they themselves are doing. Someone who constantly lies may accuse everyone else of dishonesty. A controlling person may claim that you're trying to control them. By shifting attention away from their own behavior, they place you on the defensive. Instead of examining their actions, you begin defending yourself against accusations that were never true to begin with. Many manipulative people also isolate their targets without making it obvious. They may criticize your friends, question your family's intentions, or suggest that nobody understands you the way they do. Little by little, trusted relationships weaken. The fewer outside perspectives you have, the easier it becomes for them to shape your reality. Isolation doesn't always happen physically. Sometimes it happens emotionally, leaving you feeling that only one person truly understands you. One of the greatest strengths manipulators possess is patience. They rarely rush. Instead, they test small boundaries first. Maybe they borrow something without asking. Maybe they pressure you into a small favor. If you don't resist, the requests gradually become larger. This process is so slow that each individual step feels insignificant. But months later, you may look back and realize your boundaries have completely disappeared. So why do intelligent, confident people still become victims of manipulation? The answer isn't weakness. Manipulators often target qualities that are actually strengths. Empathy, generosity, loyalty, forgiveness, and optimism are beautiful human traits. Unfortunately, they also make people more vulnerable when they aren't balanced with healthy boundaries. Manipulators don't exploit your flaws nearly as often as they exploit your kindness. Protecting yourself begins with paying attention to patterns instead of isolated incidents. Everyone makes mistakes, forgets things, or says something hurtful occasionally. Manipulation reveals itself through repetition. Ask yourself a simple question. After spending time with this person, do I usually feel respected, or do I feel confused, guilty, anxious, and emotionally exhausted? Your emotions often recognize manipulation long before your logical mind does. Learning to pause before making important decisions is another powerful defense. Manipulators thrive on urgency. They want immediate answers before you have time to think or seek advice. Giving yourself permission to say, "I'll think about it," creates space for your own judgment to return. That brief pause can prevent decisions you may later regret. Finally, remember that manipulation only succeeds when someone gains control over your perception of yourself. The stronger your self-awareness, the harder you become to manipulate. Trust your instincts when something feels consistently wrong. Protect your boundaries without apologizing for them. Surround yourself with people who encourage independent thinking instead of demanding obedience. The healthiest relationships never require you to lose your voice in order to keep someone else happy. The most dangerous manipulators aren't always the loudest, the cruelest, or the most obvious. Sometimes they're the ones who smile the most, speak the softest, and appear to care the deepest. But once you understand the hidden patterns behind manipulation, their influence begins to disappear. Awareness is your greatest defense. The moment you recognize the game, you no longer have to play it.